When we moved into this house about 8 months ago, the backyard perimeter was lined by a charming wooden fence that I loved. It gave such a cozy, cottagey feeling to our already adorable little barn-shaped house. Unfortunately, it was falling over due to some of the posts starting to rot out at the ground level. So I started to take the fence down, board by board, making sure to save all the wood and screws to use for other future projects around the house. And sure enough, when spring started to show her colors, I had an itch to make a garden. I used the old fence boards and screws to make a fenced-in garden to help deter hungry critters from my veggie plants. It wasn't the prettiest of gardens, but it did the job well. And even after that project, I had wood left over, and I've been brainstorming what else I wanted to do with it. The answer came to me one afternoon while I was hanging laundry outside on the line. I had pinned up the last sock and took a step back to look at the house. And my first thought was, this side of the house looks rough. But my second thought, pretty much immediately after, was, well, it just needs some plants. So my plan is to build one large raised bed to span this entire side of the house. I think it's going to make the house look so much more tidy and finished. The gas line hanging off the side of this house has been such a big eyesore to me, so building this raised bed should mostly cover that, but also help bring some more life to this side of the yard. I would love to have giant sunflowers growing here, but this side of the house is almost always shaded thanks to the nearby tulip poplar growing. I'm going to have to stick to shade-loving plants. The first plant that comes to mind is a hosta. My childhood home had a very shaded yard, and my mom had hostas everywhere. She planted so many because it was really the only thing that would grow. I need to do some more research because I'm hoping to find a few plants that will grow quite tall, and hostas typically don't get that tall, at least the variety that my mom had, because I think they would look beautiful. Something tall would look beautiful against the blank white side of the house and would add a lot of interest. So if anyone has any plant recommendations, let me know. I'm looking for perennials of various shapes and heights. It could be a shrub, small tree. If they produce beautiful flowers, that's just bonus points. And I'm located in zone 7A for growing references. I did this project over the span of a few days, just whenever I had some spare time during the day. I think it was 4 days, I think. You'll be able to tell how many days by how many different outfits you see me wearing in this video. As with most projects, I thought it was going to be easier. This is your sign to make sure all of your battery packs are charged. I thought mine were, but both were dead. So just as I was getting into the swing of things on day one, we had to be done for the day. My phone was almost dead too, so it was probably for the best. Overall though, this project was fairly straightforward, but there were two big hurdles that I found. The first was not being able to dig the support post down as deep as I had hoped. There were giant unmovable rocks only a few inches under the soil surface, so it doesn't have as much support as I would have liked, but because of this, I added a second layer of wood on top, which I ended up loving. It ended up giving me a taller raised bed, and I think it looks so much more intentional and put together. The second hurdle was the zero endurance my poor little arm muscles had for sawing these log posts and the boards. The boards weren't bad, it was really just these support posts that I was sawing. Oh my goodness. I had to take so many breaks when hand sawing all of the pieces of wood to length. This really made me appreciate the invention of power tools, and I hope to buy some in the future. But despite all of these hurdles, and considering I used old, warped wood and rusty screws, I think that this raised bed actually turns out really great. So this little home was originally built as a guest home for the neighbor's property. They have a big, beautiful brick house that's straight out of the 1980s. Whoever built their house was very well off at the time and owned pretty much this small section of our neighborhood. From what I've been told, the property changed hands quite a bit and parts of it were sold off, like this guest house, which is now our home. The main house even sat abandoned for a few years. We had a hunch that our property was a part of another nearby neighbor's property originally. It's set way off the road, unlike all of the other houses in the neighborhood, which are built pretty much right by the road. You can't drive straight up to our front door. You have to walk down a long staircase, but in the backyard, there's a clear, wide path to the neighbor's driveway, and the back of the house has a more formal front door. So we had all of these inklings, but once I met the neighbors and spoke with them, our suspicions were confirmed. Sometimes I forget how small our house is until I compare it to all of the other houses in our neighborhood. The other day I was out on a stroll with our dog and I happened to look towards the house from a distance. And that's when I noticed that our neighbor's garage, granted it does have an upper story, is larger than our house. We love it though. We have always lived in small spaces, and this is actually the biggest place that we have ever lived in. It feels giant to us. Before moving here, we lived in a 1950s one-bedroom home. It had an adorable galley kitchen with just enough room to turn around and tiny, narrow door frames. That entire house could have fit on the first floor of this house with some wiggle room to spare. We just love living in smaller spaces. I am so incredibly happy that I built this. I think that it instantly added so much character and charm to this side of the house. I am filling it with branches and leaves as they fall in the yard so that they can compost during the winter. Then, hopefully, I won't have to buy as much soil to fill the rest of the bed in the future. I am going to be so excited to plant some beautiful plants here in the spring. It's cheesy, but it's true. It really is the little things in life that can make such a big difference. If you have made it all the way to the end, thank you for watching. I love making these little videos, and I really appreciate how kind everyone has been. You all are giving me hope. I will see you in the next one. Take care.